The old disciples who had been in the world of saints for a few years blinked, but they let out sarcastic laughter instead. A saint trial appeared on the disciple level and it already caused a sensation. This was good. The saint trial actually also appeared on the acolyte level soul trial. This level of difficulty was to the sky. You should know that this type of trial could make people feel helpless. It was not something humans could withstand. What? Fatty Luo's ears were really as sharp as dog ears. Deng deng deng. He rushed over in a few steps, grabbed that person's arm and asked. Let go of me. Say, why is he unlucky? Don't you believe that I will bite off your arm? Luo Fei's eyes were very scary. Ahem. Well, you just went through the soul trial. Do you think that you can go through that type of terrifying test again? Luo Fei was stunned and shook his head. How was that possible? Based on his situation, no matter what he could not pass. And that is the most basic soul trial. Now it has entered the Saint test program, the difficulty level is more than doubled. Besides, the other Saint tests, if you failed, you merely fail. This soul trial can hurt a person's spirit. If you're not careful, it can be dangerous. The old disciple attracted the attention of those around him and told the story eloquently. As he said, suddenly, the color of the trial's door turned dark purple. The whole trial area became a chaotic mess. The old disciple's expression changed instantly and cried out, "That's impossible." Luo Fei's eyes turned icy. The hand grabbing the old disciple grasped harder. What's going on? You let go first. The Saint test and the test to rise to the Saint level had opened at the same time. This is completely out of our control now. He's done for, done for. Your friend is done for. With just the Saint test, if failed, it will hurt the spirit, causing spiritual harm to people. Now, if he fails, the harm caused is permanent, he can even enter a vegetative state. While he was saying that, the people around them had gloating eyes. Who told them to be such jerks? Let the trial kill you guys. A forest, pitch black forest. He could not see his fingers when he stretched out his hands. Terrifying voices were hidden in the darkness like the demons from hell. At any time, it would be prepared to reach out its demonic claws. He had to hurry to the camp. Predators under the cover of darkness were only more dangerous. Raising his head, the lush canopy covered the sky, blocking the sky. There were sounds of landing. It was the jumps between the trees by the nocturnal flying squirrels. Lear suddenly stopped in his tracks. He seemed to have become smaller, as though he was back to when he was just 10+ years old. Where was the camp? And why was he here? He remembered. This was the horror forest that was the birthday present that old man gave to him for his 12th birthday. He was thrown in the horror forest for 7 days and 7 nights. Lear smiled coldly. This was interesting. It actually could lead a person into a trance in an instant. He forgot that he was in the midst of a trial and almost thought that all these were real. Careful steps became a strolling pace. A pack of wolves blocked his way. The eyes in the dark were like ghosts, exactly like when he was 12 years old. That was a bloody battle and eventually he survived. He fought like a beast. The 12 years old him used his teeth to bite the wolf pack to death. Similarly, he was now even more fearless, a childish illusion. Instantly, the surroundings turned bright. Boss, you are so awesome. The first to succeed this trial. Luo Fei jumped over and as usual, praised him. Lear lightly nodded and then his life went on smoothly. Very quickly, the white-robed man was impressed by his talent and strength. He knelt in front of him and acknowledged him as the inheritor of the ancient civilizations, making him the king of the generation. Time passed quickly like a flying arrow, like the flowing river. Lear was already the indisputable king of the solar system. Borrowing the power of the Saint Church, he moved in the direction of ruling the Milky Way Alliance. The Kronos family's ancestor worship ceremony. Lear stood on the stage and looked at the old man, the terrifying old man of the past. At this moment, he was sitting on a wheelchair, relying on a support machine to breathe. This was his own masterpiece. After the ceremony, he would bury this old man completely. Very good, you have already learned how to be ruthless. Now I can tell you about that thing. You always suspected that I killed your dad, my own son. Actually, I did not. These facts were only hidden. Your father is a talent, but a pity that he is more interested in women. You are a genius and I cannot let you follow in his footsteps. It will only make you indecisive. So I let you think that they have already died. Actually they are still alive and you have now matured. Lear was stunned, then he saw a couple walking over from the side. Father and mother. Lear, my baby, we finally can meet. Mother shed tears and rushed over, hugging him tightly. A familiar scent, a deep memory of him in his mother's arms when he was young. Lear, you have done well. You are no doubt my son. These few years, you've had it hard. Father's gentle smile, the smiling wrinkles at the edge of mouth were much deeper than he remembered. Father had also aged a lot. Congratulations boss, a family reunion and you even rule the Milky Way Alliance. Luo Fei jumped out at the right timing to praise. This guy also grew a beard, except he was fatter than before, like a ball. Lear smiled. This was really good. His parents were alive and well. He had great power and the Kronos family had already become the first family in the solar system. In the Milky Way Alliance, he also supported numerous powerful political spokespersons. As for political potential, even if it were the Aslan royal family, they might not be more influential than the Kronos family now. The Aslan royal family still wanted to form a marriage alliance with him. Whether it was with the older or younger princess, it was up to him. But, what a pity. At this full of pride moment, Lear sighed deeply instead. He pulled out his sword and slashed. Fresh blood sprayed everywhere. His mother looked at him with disbelief and fell to the ground. His father roared and sprang towards him. Are you mad? What are you doing? He waved lightly, his sword, another slash. His father's angry face froze and dropped to the ground. Did Lear go mad? I have not passed yet, must I kill everyone? Ka-cha! The smiling Luo Fei was cut into two with one slash. The next one was the old man on the wheelchair, then the next and the next. Until blood flowed like a river, Lear's eyes still remained steadfast. Hong, the scenes surrounding him finally twisted and then flickered between light and darkness. Lear was back to the trial hall again. It felt like a century had passed. Seeing him appear, the noisy trial area suddenly fell as silent as a graveyard. Lear's gaze swept past. Everyone subconsciously took a step back. Was this still human? What level of ruthlessness had to be achieved before he could come out of such a trial? There was fearful respect in everyone's eyes. Luo Fei rushed over, laughing away. Boss, congratulations on passing through. I knew it. This type of tricks is just like a small drizzle. Lear looked at Luo Fei and smiled. He patted the fatty's shoulders. Let's go. Luo Fei nodded and suddenly could not hold back his question. Boss, what exactly is inside that thing? Nothing more than a dream. Luo Fei blinked. A dream? At a side, on the stone of the soul trial, naturally, the name the only one was carved up there. Except, different from the colors of the other names, it was the color of blood, red. The only one, also, not to say, in the time with Lin Weiyan's company, Wang Zheng was quite peaceful and could easily focus when training. All along, Wang Zheng was too lonely. His parents were not by his side and old merchant had disappeared. There was no concept of family in his life and Lin Weiyan was strangely close to him and liked to be affectionate. She really made Wang Zheng feel as though he had a younger sister, even though the identity of this younger sister was a little scary. 2 days later, Tentacles came back. He had not only returned but also with an invitation card. Except, the invitation card did not seem to be the main point. He looked around, looking for traces of Weiyan. Wang Zheng finally understood what Tentacles meant. Some of those evil films often would have those tentacle monsters appearing with the bobbing little lawless. This guy was really very wretched. Regardless of whether Weiyan was just casually speaking or not, he had really brought an invitation card over. Thus Wang Zheng still accepted it. Thanks Black Bro. You rest assured, Tentacles, will never disappoint you. Also I heard that while you can train alone on the disciple level, at the saint level, you need a team. This is even more so if you want to become the saint. Tentacles was very happy seeing Wang Zheng accepting his invitation card. Wang Zheng nodded. This person knew quite a lot. In this virtual world, actually no one knew each other. Besides, many people still wore masks. At least this Tentacles himself did not wear one. Generally those wearing masks were most likely cautious of revealing their real identities, Wang Zheng as well. He was not afraid of trouble, but he was afraid of causing trouble, especially for the people around him. After chatting with Changsun, he felt that this reason this manly guy changed was not because of his own experiences, rather, it was more for the people around him. He was indifferent if it affected only him, but he could not bring down his brothers. Hence he needed to change himself, he needed to become stronger and control fate. This was true strength. Black bro, I see that you do not have any battle records yet. You should accumulate some. To advance to the acolyte level, you only need to complete the regular training and then complete 6 trials. Then you have to win 6 out of 10 formal battles. Suddenly, Tentacles was interested in going to the acolyte level. In the past when he was alone, he felt that going up was no better than him staying comfortably in the disciple level. Wang Zheng took one look at Tentacles and suddenly understood what he meant. He had seen his level and of course, most likely, he wanted to show Wang Zheng his level as well. Sure, let's go to the arena. Every level had a specialized arena. It was not the random duels by the road but specifically entering a battle area with randomly arranged opponents. Tentacles was also excited. He finally had the opportunity to show off. He was definitely powerful in the disciple level. You would know when you reached the arena. He opened his own control bar and chose to enter the leveling duel. Actually, based on his battle records, Tentacles could already level, but then there was a relatively large group of people like him. These people had already reached the level of leveling up but they did not. Most have taken a look at the higher levels and realized that it was not suitable for them. Their ability was not there yet, and rather than go to the higher level maps, it was more comfortable down here. After all, everyone had different talents, but their presence caused fear to be felt by the average player. At the same time, they piqued quite a bit of interest. Of course, the true masters clearly weren't bothered by this. At least for Lear and gang, they passed the first level effortlessly. Such was the difference in thinking and mentality. Lear was ambitious. He wouldn't waste his time on such low levels, and would charge through the level as soon as he had a rough understanding of it. Moreover, he felt it was embarrassing to waste time at such places. Who knew if someone from the Saint Church was keeping an eye on them from a corner? Wang Zheng saw this differently. The most basic areas were in fact the most significant areas. The core was never changing. The so-called higher levels were just helping to develop one's specializations. One's foundation was tempered at the lower levels. Of course, this came from Bonehead's training and management right from the very beginning. The smaller something seemed, the more precious and complicated changes came from seemingly simple things. Entering the sequence of the final battle, Wang Zheng saw lines after lines of people. They were all here for the last battle. Some of them had begun fighting, and anyone could watch, as long as they pay a nominal viewership fee. On top of that, those dueling were not allowed to reject others from watching. Tentacles went on first, and invited Wang Zheng to watch. After all, he now had a follower, and wanted to show Wang Zheng his worth. Tentacles was rather popular. Many came to watch their duel. Here, people did not watch matches for fun, they had to pay to watch, and it was not cheap. Even the lowest tiered entrance tickets cost $10,000. Hence, only those matches that were of a certain standard attracted an audience. Tentacles entered the arena. The opponent wore a mask, too. It was someone he didn't know, who went by the name of Mad Scamper. The level of disciples did not involve weaponry, it was all bare-handed fights. With a wave of his arm, Tentacles made a signal to indicate a free fight. Wang Zheng smiled. The pose was very accurate. It showed that he had some training. Boxing technique was something all pilots had to learn, too. Only then could they perform well in physical matches. It was the same for other martial arts. You'd have to have adequate technique to be able to display your physical strength, or it would all be useless. The Mad Scamper had no intention of dueling right away. Tentacles, the Wind Group is intrigued by your capabilities. This would be a test for you to join us. The Wind Group was one of the larger organizations in the world of Saints. They had members in all 3 different levels, but when it was time to assess someone, they would send out members from another level. Tentacles was taken by surprise. They had obviously used a tracking card to be directly matched to him in the duel. That thing cost a bomb, too. I'm sorry, but I'm already following someone else. "You're too late," Tentacles said, smiling. "Oh really? Who would that be? There is no need for you to know about that. Moreover, I have no interest in the Wind Group whatsoever." The mad scamper looked coldly at Tentacles. "You're naive and arrogant, aren't you? Too bad you got one thing wrong. You have no say in this matter. You should be honored that the group has taken interest in you. Bring it on." Tentacles flicked his hair. "Why do such narcissistic people still exist? You're not a lowly." Zoom. Tentacles struck, launching the 8-point blade technique to its fullest. The instant flying kick was extremely fast and accurate. This person had obviously been trained, and had a certain level of background in boxing. Everything that was reflected in the world of saints was something personal. But the fast and forceful leg strike missed. The opponent had just taken a step back, and Tentacles missed. Tentacles readied himself to continue attacking, but the opponent had taken the offensive. In the speed of lightning, he had moved to Tentacles' side. The warning lasted a mere instant. His ability X activated. Tentacles dodged aside quickly. He was surprised. His ability X was speed, and his element was wood, leaning towards wind. That had made him particularly confident of his speed. But the opponent had closed in, crashing a punch right in. Tentacles subconsciously put up a defense, and, boom. His body flew, but his still had a sense of balance. However, the opponent followed up, crazily launching attacks from all directions, so much so that Tentacles was only left with the ability to defend. Wang Jung looked on calmly. The opponent had used a 16-point blade technique's understanding to improve his abilities here. Even though he could only use up to the 8th point on this level, his understanding on the technique was in a totally different place. Trainings usually came in 3 stages. First, the mountain you see is the mountain. Then, the mountain as you see is not a mountain. And finally, the mountain you see is what it really is. Similarly, in the first stage, what one saw was just the surface, and can be easily interpreted right away. It required speed, accuracy, and viciousness. Come to the second stage, there were deeper layers of thinking involved. Every punch took into considerations of many different aspects, and involved continuation, prediction, and so on. A simple punch may encompass various changes within, but it was still merely a punch. But when it came to the third stage, on top of speed, accuracy and viciousness, there was control. And thus, even if it's the same level of prowess, those in the higher stage would still turn the ones in the lower stage into pulp. The mad scamper was a master of the same category, and had the same background in Thai boxing, but when it came to the level of understanding, he was much better than Tentacles. Tentacles was dead meat. Tentacles was beaten into depression. He felt as if he was unable to perform. He knew that the opponent was able to beat him down because of their difference in stages. He had a similar encounter before, but it was not as powerful as this. The Wind Group was a well-known organization in the world of saints that specifically took in people with Wind-type ability X. There were many things in this world that happened against people's wills. Here, once taken notice of, you either join them or get forced to leave this place. The reason why they created such an image for themselves was just so that people wouldn't dare to fight back. It was easy to deal with one man. But what about facing an organization? It wasn't just the Wind Group. Most organizations including the 5 Holy Sons were the same. Regardless of the world, so long as men existed, the way things worked was through one rule, the survival of the fittest. The mad scamper's Thai boxing techniques were sharp. Coupled with the force that came from the high speed, Tentacles was beaten so much so that he could do nothing apart from trying to defend. To put it simply, he was being bullied. You've got a pretty good foundation. Join the Wind Group and you'd be considered one of our own, the opponent said, landing a punch on Tentacles' face. Buzz off. I only join groups that have a future. Listen to a dead man talk. The opponent kneed right into Tentacles' chest. Tentacles' pupils shrank. Duels simulated 100% of the sensations felt. A high kick landed immediately afterwards, smacking right on the neck. Just watching the kick land alone made people feel nervous. Boom. Tentacles was beaten onto the ground. The mad scamper stepped on Tentacles' face. I'll give you 1 day to think about it. Otherwise, you shall never show up in here ever again. The duel ended. Tentacles was defeated. Leaving the arena, Tentacles gave a self-mocking smile. His face had turned pale. A battle like that would definitely cause mental traumas. I'd wanted to show what I can do, but it had turned into a sad story. I'm sorry. Tentacles turned around to leave. He had wanted to put on a good show, but now that things have taken such a turn, he was too embarrassed to stay. Wang Zheng stopped Tentacles. Is there anything such as seeking vengeance in the world of saints? Let's say I'd like to go up against that person from earlier on. Tentacles was stunned. There is a vengeance card, but let's just forget it. They are masters from the Wind Group. They came here from a different level. Tentacles sounded upset. Anybody humiliated this way would certainly feel upset. It was also the reason why they didn't want to advance into the level of believers. The higher they climbed, the more organization in groups, and the stricter the level of control. In comparison, being a disciple gave them more freedom. There was quite a huge crowd that had gathered to watch the duel that took place earlier on, and by now, they were all buried in discussion, too. It was a good thing to be met with an organization's recruitment this way. Why would he take it so seriously? That vengeance card thing, do you have one? Yay, you. Tentacles was stared for a second, and shook his head. Forget it, such things happen frequently here. You'll surely encounter it on your own in future. Hey, I like these things. Moreover, don't you want to take a look at the standards of the person you're following? If I get beaten up into pulp, we can suffer together. That's better than you suffering all on your own, Wang Zheng chuckled. Tentacles paused for a moment, and took out a vengeance card. Underneath the mask, Wang Zheng smiled. He crushed the vengeance card in his hand. A battle like that would not be taken into consideration for advancement onto the next level, but that was unimportant. The mad scamper completed his mission. There were plenty of people like him, who thought they were great. Their little bit of talent led them to think that they were good. They simply lacked a good beating. Beat them up a few times, and they'd know where they really stand. All of a sudden, he was challenged to a vengeance match. Mad Scamper laughed. Damn, there really were people who did know the difference between life and death. I don't believe this. I'll teach you your place. Entering the battle arena, Mad Scamper stared at the idiot wearing the black iron mask standing before him. Look at how confident he seems. A moron who stood a zero chance of winning. Upon hearing that someone had used a vengeance card for Tentacles, the crowd went wild. Those who sought out a match like that were either highly skilled, or were simply jokers. Everybody knew the opponent was someone from the Wind Group, and how would anybody dare to stir things up even more? Forget being beaten up, just lay low and disappear for a period of time, and they would let things slide. Courting for trouble this way? They would definitely punish and torture you to death just to protect the reputation of the group. That person name sounds really familiar. Damn, isn't that the one who triggered the Saints training at the disciple level? It seems like it. There can't possibly be another person with a silly name like Charcoal. Mad Scamper looked at the idiot before him. Charcoal? Charcoal my ass. You're the one who came out from a crack on a stone. How dare you court trouble from the Wind Group? Then, Mad Scamper waved his arm. Forget it. I have no interest in knowing anything about an useless creature like you. Zoom. The Mad Scamper charged wildly. This was different from when dealing with Tentacles. When beating up Tentacles, his intention was to teach him something, which was why he didn't kill him. But for trash like this, he did not want to waste his time. Looking at the fast and furious Mad Scamper, the Charcoal appeared to be in shock, standing there, motionless. Tentacles was stumped. What was he doing? Did he really want to get tortured too? He only liked being tortured by Lolly. Seeing how shocked his opponent appeared to be did not make the Mad Scamper more merciful. He gave a high-speed, furious knee kick, aimed right at his opponent's head. In the world of Saints, attacks targeted at the head caused the greatest consequences. Tentacles' jaw slowly dropped. Just before he managed to strike, Wang Zheng grabbed onto Mad Scamper's neck with one hand, stopping him and lifting him up. The black iron mask gave out a cold, fearsome air. Tentacles is following me. You're welcome to visit us anytime. Crack. A loud scream rang through the battle arena. The Mad Scamper's head was bent at an angle. Tentacles left quietly with Wang Zheng. He saw the scene from earlier on very clearly. Wang Zheng seemed pretty average before he made any moves. But the moment he struck, it was just like a huge lightning strike. The mad scamper's attack came close, and as fast as the wind, Charcoal's body pulled away by a little. Right at the instant where the mad scamper's attack was the weakest, Charcoal lashed out like a venomous snake, pushing his opponent's knee away with his left hand, and choking his opponent's neck with the right. Although the neck was a vulnerable body part, it could not be controlled in an attack like that, and this was way too risky. During an attack, every flaw was exposed to the opponent, unless your level of control was completely higher than he was. The mad scamper had definitely used a high-level blade technique, but when faced with a lower-range blade technique, he was entirely stifled. It was as if he was completely naked. Tentacles knew that the Charcoal was very powerful, but he did not know to what extent. This was still not the most important part. There were many people who were powerful, but those who could attack with such decisiveness and viciousness were extremely few. He was even suspicious of whether or not Charcoal was a professional assassin. Looking at Wang Zheng's silhouette, Tentacles smiled. Regardless of his occupation, this was a loyal man worth following. Thank you, Brother Charcoal. Wang Zheng smiled. You've got potential, but you're overly reliant on your ability X from how I see it. The ability X is just a way to level up your fighting capabilities, or used as a trump move. If you rely on it, you'd be trapped the moment you encounter someone just slightly better than you. Tentacles nodded. I understand. I will certainly be more careful in future, and not try to be clever. It's just that the Wind Group. My purpose here is to stir trouble. So no matter what group or club it is, they can come at me if they want. Wang Zheng was very much at ease. The rules in the world of saints were pretty solid. If the opponents could have used techniques that were even more powerful, it would have been quite a headache. He could manage to stave off one or two, but if there were more, Wang Zheng wouldn't have been able to manage. However, even if met with someone from the saints level, given that they can only use the 8-point blade technique, what they were really being tested were their abilities to grasp things in the realm. For that, Wang Zheng had no fear of anyone. In fact, he looked forward to meeting someone who had a deeper understanding of the realm than he did. Only then could they help each other grow. After Tentacles had left, Wang Zheng did not immediately participate in another duel, but instead, continued to train. He wanted to train his 8-point blade technique to the highest level. The Wind Group surely wouldn't let things go just like that, and so it was better to be safe than sorry. According to the rules that were in place, he couldn't keep the matter of him entering the Saints' trial a secret. Now that he had been exposed, other forces would probably join in. Only when he had reached the highest level of the technique, then could he stand undefeatable. Wang Zheng's sudden departure indeed caused many to leave empty-handed. Usually, this Charcoal guy would go on for a few more rounds, but this time, he did not return. Those in the higher levels would not react so quickly. After all, there were 2 stages from the disciple level to the saints. Even if you got to the saints, the training would take quite some time. But they had already instructed those in the lower levels to keep an eye on things. It was Tentacles' performance in the past year or so that had attracted the Wind Group's attention. Once someone with such a high status and backing entered the picture, most others would have to be onlookers, unless they have got absolute strength or powers. This incident was rather amusing, too. It was the first time that someone from an organization that ruled all 3 realms had been taught a lesson. It was a rare occurrence, and also pretty much a joke. Meanwhile, Tita Titan Star grew and developed steadily. With military support from the people of Tita and the Land family's planning strategies, they were able to stand tall among the great powers in the Milky Way, making use of the ultra-powerful mineral stones. The great nations all opened their highest embassies in Tita Titan Star. While that may be too much for Tita Titan Star, but with the mineral stones, it was not altogether inexcusable. The motives of the various countries were clear. Tita Titan Star had tight controls over the mining of the ultra-powerful mineral stones, and even the upper limits of the conservational mining could not produce enough stones to satiate the Milky Way's large stomach. The cake was simply that big. It's up to your own capabilities to get it if you ever want a second bite. Canyon City and Langkao City was bustling with activities of spies, conspirators, schemers and politicians. It was unquestionable that this was a good opportunity for these people to make a name for themselves. Whether was it the Land family or the newly appointed government of the Tita Titan Star, they all watched over things very, very closely. At Tita Titan Star, People readily got rid of the old to make way for the new, and everything was on the table. But increasing the mining output of the ultra-powerful mineral stones was a definite, hard no. This was the basis of which Titan Star had developed and grew within such a short span of time. From all their activities and interactions, the various countries also knew this line of limitation well. This was a line that could not be crossed. The Earthworm Federation did not believe so, and arrogantly tried to bribe the Land family with money. The Titan Star had yet to respond to that when all the other major powers pushed the Federation out of the competition. When it came to this matter, conspiracies had no place at all. It was too sensitive an issue. Whether it was Aslan or Arbiter Empire, there was no one power that could push all other competitors out. When that was the case, the importance of having rules stood out. Everything had to go according to the rules. If things were politically unstable, then the economy would become the pillar to prop things up, making use of the market to allocate the eventual flow of the mineral stones. Everything marched forward in the direction of Titan Star. Of course, the reason why there was such an effect was partly due to the changes in the Land family. If Lan Zhang was the head of the household, it would indeed be very likely that it would turn into a commercial transaction. But as Mu Sen entered the picture, and the Lan family failed to stand out quickly, the impact was minimized. At the very least, even if you wanted to do something sneaky, there was very little you could do. Even though the Titan Star had attained first-class accreditation, it had absolutely nothing to show when it came to the military aspect of things. The Titans may be strong, but their powers could only be used on the Titan Star. In such a vast galaxy, the Titan Star had only a weak fleet. It could barely even be called a fleet. Where there were goods, there were shipping paths, and where there were profits that could be made, there were pirates. The ultra-powerful mineral stones would likely attract pirates in disguise. As of now, things were smooth sailing. Nobody should dare to do anything. But this would certainly become a problem in future. The Titan Star was as much a culprit in the black market. Under such circumstance, the only option left for Titan Star was to look for militarily strategic partners and to form an alliance. It would give the Titan Star some time to grow. And of course, when it came to strategic partners, they would certainly ask for special rights and privileges. After coming to the decision to use the market for distribution, the various countries came into a new conflict over who ought to be Titan Star's strategic partner. There was only one place available, and so every country put in their best offers, of which, the Astina Federation and the Arbiter Empire showed the strongest hands, offering terms at the highest levels. Aslan was also trying their best to vie for the spot. With Lin Huiyan's promptness in taking action, they had a pretty good chance, too. But as Astina and Arbiter offered more and more, their position took a plunge. What, Arbiter is willing to lend a fleet to the Titan Star Defense Corps for 50 years, and be in charge of all training for fleet commanders and troops? How vicious, lending an entire fleet at nothing to the Titan Star for 50 years. The term may be lent, but in 50 years, even the most advanced fleet today would become outdated. The Aslan ambassador to the Titan Star, Steve, dapped at his perspiring forehead non-stop. Even though Lin Huiyan had played a huge role in the Titan Star incident and had built a rather close friendship with the Lan family, politics was as such. Friendship aside, being able to provide benefits was the sole foundation of all conversations. Compared to the terms offered by Aslan, the Arbiter Empire had spent a fortune. If he were in charge of the Titan Star, he wouldn't choose Aslan for Lin Huiyan's friendship either. And because Aslan had already received certain benefits, the backlash from other countries was huge, too. After all, no one wanted to see Aslan grow strong on its own. It was also probably why Arbiter was so anxious. Just as the ambassador pondered between contacting Aslan and increasing their support for Titan Star, or to continue making use of Lin Huiyan's relationships to open up more doors of opportunities, another piece of news arrived at his feet. Astina has offered a new term to Titan Star, to assist the Titan Star building up a fleet of planetary guards and a fleet of deep space guards. All ships would be built and produced on Titan Star. It was not lending, but instead, directly helping Titan Star to build up their own military capabilities. This was way greater than Arbiter's offer. Arbiter had offered to give them spaceships for free, But Astina was basically helping Tita Titan Star build up a manufacturing facility. This was giving away their core strategic technologies, trading technology for bankruptcy. Steve slumped into his chair. If it were only Arbiter Empire, it would be easier. After all, Arbiter's image in the Milky Way had always come off too strongly. As long as Tita Titan Star had one bit of doubt or worry, he would be able to use politics to maneuver the situation and stir things up. But with Astina, the situation was altogether different. After much consideration, Steve finally made a decision. He dialed the direct line connecting to Aslan's president. Now that things had come to this, it was no longer something that he as an ambassador could deal with. By escalating the situation upwards, even if the mission failed, he wouldn't have to bear full responsibility and ruin his political career. The call was very quickly answered. President Kashawin appeared on the screens. It was clear that the Tita Titan Star situation was of top priority in the cabinet. How are things going? Things are very complicated. It is very challenging. If we do not increase our stakes in this, I am afraid we will not stand a chance. The ambassador explained the new terms and stakes offered by Arbiter and Astina. The situation here at home does not allow us to invest too heavily in Tita Titan Star using military resources. Kashawin did not even frown in the slightest and came to the conclusion coolly. It was not that Aslan Empire had no wish of upping their stakes, but that they were organizing a 16-country military summit to put an end to military expansion, so as to work towards prospering as a Milky Way. If they were to increase investments in military resources on Tita Titan Star using assisting Tita Titan Star as the reason, the 16-country summit would not see results. When it came to politics, it was always this way. Gaining something in one aspect would mean settling for another. Slapping oneself was never the way to go in politics. Steve was also clear on the current position of the military in Aslan. Compared to Tita Titan Star, the initiative rights of the 16 countries military conference was more important. Arbiter Republic and Astina Federation were also clear on this point. It looked like this mission was doomed to failure. Looking at Kashawin's cold expressionless face, Steve put on a bitter face. This is too difficult. Kashawin's gaze was cold. It is precisely because of the difficulty that of all the diplomats, I chose you personally to be the first ambassador to the Tita Titan Star. This is an honorable yet difficult mission. For Aslan's glory, you have to use your power. Other than military aspects, we Aslan can accept any other support. Steve paused. His eyes changed. Was this not bullshit? Tita Titan Star now lacked nothing but military power. There were no lack of gifts of other resources, yet he could not offer the help of Aslan's military. He wanted to complain, of course, that was to push away the responsibility. If he described the difficulty level at a much higher level and he succeeded, that was because he was talented. If he failed, then he had a reason to explain. A gentleman never stood near a falling wall. A smart man needed to stand at an undefeatable ground. But with Kashawin's words, Steve knew that he had nowhere to retreat. He was an Aslan commoner. He had no background. Every step he made was done with great difficulty. To be sent to the remote Tita Titan Star, to be honest, he was a little unwilling. However, he quickly accepted it. Even though the conditions here were bad, the competition was fierce. But in view of Tita Star's position, it was also the easiest to get some results. On the other hand, it was also the easiest to be defeated badly. But Kashawin's words just now had instantly changed his views. Chosen personally by the Prime Minister, even if it was to be an officer at the planet of the Savage Tribe, it would not be ordinary. This also meant that his talents were appreciated. And now, having Kashawin to tell him personally, that was equal to her telling him that she recognized his ability and whether or not he could really be near and become one of the wings of the Prime Minister. All depended on whether he worked hard enough, and whether he could overcome the difficulty. This was an opportunity. Steve immediately perked up and raised his head. Yes, Prime Minister has taught me well. I will definitely find a way. Kashawin was very satisfied with Steve's political sensitivity. At this moment she said, "That's enough. The difficulty you face is indeed great. The 16 countries conference will be held 10 days later. I will drop by Tita Star and will reach in about 7 days. Your mission is to drag the negotiations on Tita Star for about 7 days of time. Yes, I guarantee that the mission will be completed, Steve said firmly. He was a smart person. Actually, this period of time he did an in-depth investigation and already discovered some details that others did not pay attention to. On the surface, Mu Sen was the decision maker and Lan Ling was the support for Tita Star now. However, in reality, the spiritual leader of Tita citizens was the Titan Rara Durai. This group of Tita giants were very abnormal. They were extremely enthusiastic towards a small company from Earth. Details determined success or failure. It seemed like it was because of this person called Ada. Steve decided to use this as his breakthrough point. Perhaps he could have different gains. It was because he believed that Tita citizens were much easier to handle compared to humans. Compared to prophets, they cared more for relations. Yi Zissou was indeed a little surprised. The ambassador from Aslan actually found OMG the Aslan Empire and the solar system did have an amiable relationship now, and the other side did quite an investigation and thought that OMG had a special relationship with the higher-ups of Tita Star. They were now thinking of taking this route. Since the Lan family had no more chances in the Tita Star, how about the other directions? There would always be a way. When Rusin reported the situation, Yi Zissou was indeed stunned for quite a while. It seemed like it was just not long ago that the Aslan Empire did not treat Wang Zheng as a person and now they were asking for a favor. To be honest, Yi Zissou really wanted to give Aslan a tight slap, however, she knew that she could not do that. This way, it could really sever off any last chances Wang Zheng had with Aina. Wang Zheng, the general situation is like this. I think that this is a chance to let you and Aina be together. Yi Zissou said. Based on Wang Zheng's influence on Tita Star, he definitely could do it. Actually, the meaning was the same whether in choosing Aslan or Arbiter, or any other countries. They were all a transaction. Yi Zissou and Wang Zheng faced each other. They were at the cafe on campus, yet what they were discussing was the big thing that was much sought after from the Milky Way Alliance. This kind of feeling seemed a little off. Yi Zissou thought that Wang Zheng would be very agitated, but the weird thing was that Wang Zheng's reaction was very calm. Wang Zheng, this really is a chance. A chance to let the Aslan royal family see you differently. Your influence on the Tita Star is unrivaled. Wang Zheng smiled slightly. In his smile was not helplessness but more of an unexpected firmness. I do not need to prove anything to the Aslan royal family. Aslan's condition do not match Tita Star's benefits at all. Tita Star now needs a strong ally who could provide military support to ensure the safety of the main travel route and at the same time to warn people who are having other thoughts. On this aspect, either Arbiter or Manalasuo are more suitable. Wang Zheng said, you are usually very calm, but Zissou, I know what you are thinking. It is useless to talk about relationships with these politicians. You will only be used by them and they will look down on us behind our backs. Wang Zheng said, his calmness came from this. Sometimes, it was not good to have such a clear mind. If he really did as Zissou said, the other side would just lead him on and bluff him. In the bones, however, they would still look down on him. He was Wang Zheng, here, he had not changed all along. What could he get by backing down? He would no longer be himself. This was something Wang Zheng could not do. Actually, Yi Zissou also knew. She was calmer than Wang Zheng. Except that she hoped that Wang Zheng would be happy, even if it was just for a moment. It was just that she did not expect Wang Zheng to be even more determined than her. If not for experiencing what he had at Titan, he might really have agreed. But the lesson that time caused him to be bedridden for more than a month, unable to move at all. Because he could only lie down, the flesh behind his back all rotted. Bonehead went into hibernation because of that. The only one he wanted to thank was Lan Ling. If not for Lan Ling talking to him constantly, he might really have gone to the extremes. At that time, he thought a lot, really a lot. Yi Zissou felt that Wang Zheng and Aina seemed to have distanced themselves. This distance was not of space but of the heart. The two of them did not do anything wrong, they could only say that their identities played them out. The atmosphere was a little heavy. At this moment, a girl walked over shyly and a little afraid. Wang. Teacher Wang, hello, I am Sha Yu, thank you for saving me. Sha Yu was a little unsure of herself, and a little embarrassed. If not for Wang Zheng who interfered at the right moment, she might be done for. Wang Zheng shook his head. You are welcome, we are all classmates. Just call me Wang Zheng, I don't have to give lessons now. Actually, Wang Zheng really was not in the mood now and only wanted to spend some quiet time with Zisu. Then, Wang Zheng, can I treat you to dinner tonight? To express my gratitude. Sha Yu suddenly smiled brightly and sat beside Wang Zheng as she said. It was only at this moment that Wang Zheng and Yi Zisu realized that Sha Yu still dressed sexily today. She was wearing a sleeveless spaghetti-strapped blouse where it was easy to see everything with one glance. Her beautiful pair of long legs was exhibited by a pair of denim mini-skirt. Thinking of it, at the start Wang Zheng and Yan Xiaoshu both appreciated this style. It beautified their views. It was such an enjoyable thing. However, at this moment, Wang Zheng was a little impatient. I still have something on. I accept your gratitude. For Wang Zheng, who trained in fighting styles, he could sensitively feel that the girl beside him actually had a very murky aura. What kind of life the other party led had nothing to do with him. Everyone had the right to choose their own lifestyle. He interfered totally out of his own morality. He could not allow this type of things to happen in front of his own school gates. Wang Zheng's coldness did not dampen Sha Yu's enthusiasm at all. Wang Zheng, don't reject me, I'll be sad. She looked delicate. Her lips were covered in shiny lip gloss, exuding a faint aroma. She totally treated Yi Zisu, who was beside, like air. Usually Wang Zheng was very patient, but today he really did not have the mood. He stood up directly. Zisu, let's go. Sha Yu, you will pick up the bill and we are even. Also, I interfered because I do not want our school's reputation to suffer because of an individual's actions. After saying, he left without turning back. Yi Zisu smiled slightly. This classmate, he is not someone you can be near. Don't waste your efforts. The next time you try to hook up with a rich guy, go further away from school. Wang Zheng might not be aware. Yan Xiaoshu only looked at her appearance and would not care too much. However, the gossip between girls passed very quickly. Sha Yu was considered a famous person in school, but not in a good way. The previous time, she indeed was hooking up with rich guys. Even if something happened, she could also get some compensation. Just right, she could buy a purse that she already had her eye on for a long time. Who knew that halfway through, Wang Zheng would appear unexpectedly? But Sha Yu recognized Wang Zheng. She was adept at inquiry. Wang Zheng might seem just like an ordinary student, what IG team leader, what physics department professor, all those were not important. The important part was he was a major shareholder of the King Company. A hero saving a beauty. This was her real target, to hook up with him. Yan Xiaoshu and Yi Zisu, these two lackeys, would also become her lackeys and she would have 2 more ATMs. In her eyes, Wang Zheng was still an innocent little virgin. Yi Zisu, what do you have to slander me? He saved me and I like him. Who are you to him? What qualifications do you have to stop me? Sha Yu showed her disdain. Wang Zheng, who had walked out, turned back and Sha Yu immediately put on an attractive wronged look. Wang Zheng gently put his arms around Yi Zisu's shoulders. Sha Yu, do you understand now? Even though she knew very clearly this was fake, Yi Zisu was still very happy. The two of them walked out like a couple. Sha Yu was shocked. In her bones, she did not feel that Yi Zisu was any impressive. She did not have any chest, looked boring and would not be as experienced as her. She could make him feel so good that he could die. You are fortunate to attract a beauty. With a beauty sending herself to you, and you still rejected her, Yi Zisu teased. Wang Zheng rubbed his nose. Forget it. Her whole body was covered in an aura of rot. Just being near I feel faint. You're quite mean yourself. I helped you get out of that difficult situation. No matter what, you have to treat me to a meal. There's no more reason left in the world. It was me who was helping you. Also, how can you get a girl to treat you? Wang Zheng laughed heartily. Well, who asked me to leech onto you? You are the only girl who is treating me. Suddenly, Yi Zisu was really grateful to Sha Yu. If not for her antics, it seemed like she would not have such a happy day. Back in the world of saints, Wang Zheng arrived at the trial hall. You could say that in this whole world, the true essence of the world lay in the trials used to temper individuals. There was a wide variety, even more patterns than that inside the Rubik's Cube. It was quite a good help to Wang Zheng, and he was especially interested in this type of training. To be honest, some things could even be incorporated into the training of special forces soldiers. In this aspect, the world of saints was better than the military. When this black iron masked man appeared, the whole trial hall was excited. Everyone's eyes were filled with fanaticism. In the world of saints, there was absolutely no shortage of talented, powerful players, or rather, this was a miraculous world. Without a certain level, there was no way you could enter. Confidence, arrogance, pride, all these were the most common. Only, there would be stronger people out of the strong. As long as you had stayed a few days in the world of saints, most people would become low-key and calmer. If not long later they would be annihilated. A single person's strength, especially those with low-level strength, against the world of saints was in existence as fragile as eggshells. There would always be people who were not convinced and wanted to challenge the rules of this world. This was what made humans different from the rest of the world. However, so far, all the rebels finally compromised. No one could move beyond the rules. This was a law made by everyone. This was the scariest. How long would this cold black iron masked man before them last? Dodge trial. The rules were very simple, to dodge all light ball attacks. This was to train reaction and pace. Even the slightly higher level trials were also an in-depth test of pacing training. Pacing was dead. If you wanted to use your pacing flexibly, you had to use other trainings to train. This type of method, Wang Zheng had really not tried before. The same time Wang Zheng was participating in the trial, another important meeting was being held far, far away. The two parties were very unexpected. Steve's whole body filled with excitement. Every cell was jumping. He was actually going to succeed. God, who would have thought that an Earthling could actually have such a terrifying level of influence? You could only say that the savages were really naive and actually handed over wealth and power to others so easily, and to a guy with no power, just because he had some ability? This was really a miracle that could only happen in the wild world. Trust? Such a ridiculous word, but it was precisely because of that such a good thing really happened. The most powerful people of Tita Star had all arrived. The first governor of Titan Republic Mu Sen sat in the middle. To his left was a girl, Lan Ling, the current head of the Lan family. She had steadied the Lan family's position in this round of political change and continued to enjoy high status. To his right was a golden giant. He was different. He was the only golden one. He was the spiritual leader of Tita citizens, Titan Rara Durai. Rara Durai did not care at all about the affairs of humans, but he actually attended this meeting. This was such an honor. Steve was also feeling proud of himself. Such a lineup, even if the Prime Minister came personally, she would be given enough face. Steve knew that as long as he succeeded this time, he would become a hero of Aslan. The other two were totally new faces. A girl who looked a little younger than Lan Ling, she seemed to be a famous mecha designer. The other was a fatty. Looking a little perverted with no elegance. One look and you knew he was a nouveau rich and was a country bumpkin who had not seen big scenes. But these two represented another person, and this time's negotiation seemed to be determined by them. Aslan was most adept at dealing with Earth's rich country bumpkins. As long as they gave them a little benefit, they would bow to the ground with their ass in the air. Why? They were the great glorious Aslan Empire. This was a tripartite negotiation, a deep cooperation between Tita Star and the Aslan Empire. However, this needed the Prime Minister to handle. Hence there was today's Skylink video conference. If they had reached a consensus, the Prime Minister would head to Tita Star personally. Everyone was present and waited for the famous Prime Minister of Aslan, the king's own younger sister, the Iron Fist Prime Minister Kushawin. The empty seat, an image flickered. Kushawin's figure appeared. At a side, Lin Weiyan actually came too. Steve quickly stood up and bowed respectfully. Prime Minister, Your Highness, as per the agreement, everyone is present. The moment Kushawin appeared, her gaze briefly swept across and her aura immediately suppressed the whole situation. As the real power holder of one of the Milky Way Alliance's most powerful empire, the average person could not compare with her royal aura. There was a faint smile on Kushawin's face. She looked approachable yet maintained a distance. Mr. Mu Sen, everyone present, I'm very happy to see you. I hope that this is the start of our good cooperation. She brought Weiyan because she wanted to make use of Lin Weiyan's relationships on Tita Star. Obviously this savage planet attached great importance to this. This would bring huge benefits to Aslan Empire. Mu Sen let out a kind smile. Respected Prime Minister Kushawan, thank you for your presence and lovely princess. The Aslan Empire and Tita Star has a good start. I hope that we can reach a consensus. This is also the reason I'm here. We and this child may sometimes be very rash, but her qualities are what makes us Asan. Kushawan said. Actually she was also hinting on how reliable the Aslan Empire was. Steve, let's introduce our Aslan Comprehensive Assistance Plan to Governor Mu Senator. Yes, Prime Minister. Steve said respectfully. The Prime Minister was indeed the Prime Minister, upon entrance, and she already firmly grasped the rhythm in her hands. The Aslan Empire to you Tita citizens would be a great grace. Steve started to introduce the comprehensive plan. This plan not only involved mine development, but also the basic infrastructure of Tita Star. However, these basic infrastructures did not require the use of money. It could be exchanged for using super gravitational energy mine. Mu Sen carried a smile from the start to the end. Rara Darai was expressionless because he did not know why he had to come. He had headaches when faced with these complicated things. Lan Ling on the other hand had a very solemn face. What plan was this? This was a joke. When did Tita Star need Aslan to do so many things? It looked like assistance, but Tita Star did not need such assistance. Any of the projects could attract numerous companies to compete for. No need for money, considering the current situation? That was even more so a joke. According to this distribution, 70% of the yearly production of mines would be controlled by Aslan. This had already raised to the level of strategic issues. For this, Tita Star might offend everyone else. Once they had lost the position to share, Tita Star needed to completely depend on the Aslan Empire. As for the military aspect, we Aslan will definitely be entirely responsible for that. Steve said the key point. With the guarantee of our Aslan troops, no other countries would dare to destroy the shipping route. Yi Zissou laughed. Lan Ling also laughed. This was equivalent to turning Tita Star into Aslan's colony. What were they thinking? The Great One country? As though turning into Aslan's affiliated planet was some great honor. Governor Mu Sen, what do you think? Let's build a permanent friendship between Aslan the Tita Republic. I guarantee, in 10 years' time, Tita Star will become a first-class planet. Steve said confidently. Lin Weiyan wanted to say something but stopped. Even though she did not know much about politics, but she was a princess after all. She had continuous lessons in this aspect. On the surface this looked good, but this was a bit forced. Tita Star wanted freedom, but this was equal to having both their economy and military reliant on Aslan. Kushawan's move was accomplishing two things with one move. She held the two positions, one that controlled the super gravitational energy mines and the other that controlled the 2 extra seats on the Milky Way Alliance Committee. Governor Mu Sen, if we can reach a cooperation, Princess Weiyan will be the head of the whole cooperation. She is the symbol of our Aslan Empire. This will also be her first time executing her princess powers on behalf of the country. This also represents our Aslan's seriousness. Kushawan smiled warmly. Mu Sen smiled too. Elder Mu Sen, this is important, I think. Lan Ling wanted to stop it. This was a big joke. The Iron Fist Prime Minister was simply a robber. Even if Tita Star developed slowly, they also did not need this kind of plundering assistance. Mu Sen shook his head and stopped Lan Ling. He looked towards Yi Zissou. Miss Zissou, what do you think of this proposal? To be honest, at the start, Yi Zissou and Yan Xiaoshu was suppressed by Kushawan's strong aura. But not long later, Yan Xiaosu's tyrannical aura revived. He was also a businessman. He knew the true asking price. But he thought that it was really rare to have such a shameless person like Kushawan. It was obviously to the benefit of Aslan, yet she put it as though it was so good for Tita Star. Except that he knew clearly that this time's matters were not the point. Hence Yan Xiaoshu did not speak. He was afraid that upon opening his mouth he would not be able to hold back his breakout. Yi Zissou smiled. Prime Minister Kushawan, this agreement, how'd I put it? On the details, we might need to scrutinize them, because it is after all a big matter. On the direction, it is not that we cannot agree, but there is a condition. Kushawin glanced at Yi Zisu. Governor Mu Sen, does she have the qualifications to speak for Tita Star? Elder Mu Sen was still smiling. Yes, Miss Zisu can represent Tita Star. No one else present opposed. This made Kushawin a little surprised. A young girl. This Tita Star affairs was really a child's play, but this was good. Little girl, what conditions do you have? I'm also very interested to hear them. Kushawin smiled warmly, but her words treated Yi Zisu like a small kid. Yi Zisu also carried a smile on her face. At the moment we will not comment on the series of clauses that Mr. Steve had just said. But we, Tita Star, are willing to make concessions. The condition is. Yi Zisu paused and stared at Kushawin intently. The Aslan royal family will not interfere in the personal relationship between Princess Aina and Wang Zheng. This is the prerequisite for cooperation. Instantly the meeting room was quiet. Steve was shocked. So the rumors were true? Princess Aina fell in love with an earthling. That was why she was sent to Atlantis. Kushawin laughed. What is Wang Zheng? Can he represent Tita Star? Rara Darai, who was at his side, stood up immediately and glared at Kushawin fiercely. Elder Mu Sen stopped smiling. Ms. Kushawin, please take note of your identity and words that you say. Wang Zheng is a respectable person of our Tita Star. He saved Tita Star, so he has the right to represent Tita Star. Miss Yi Zisu here is his spokesperson. Oh, Kushawin sized up Yi Zisu. Did you think that what he had accomplished up to now would surprise me, would make me recognize his accomplishments? Prime Minister Kushawin. I don't mean it that way. Wang Zheng and Aina really love each other. This is a fated and wonderful relationship. Please give Wang Zheng a chance to prove himself. Yi Zisu said. Yan Xiaoshu clenched his fists. Damn it, too arrogant, too arrogant. Kushawin's eyes were filled with condescending mockery and ridicule. Fate, you go back and tell Wang Zheng, people like him, no matter what positions they end up in, are not worthy to even match up to a strand of hair in the Aslan royal family. The last time, it was just a warning. The next time, it will not be only him, but everything around him will be destroyed. Kushawin looked at Mu Sen lightly. Governor Mu Sen, the development and safety of Tita Star are of great importance. I hope that you will seriously consider it. As far as international reputation is concerned, Aslan is the best. Regardless of Arbiter or Monaluosuo, they all aim to occupy Tita Star. Elder Mu Sen was still very calm. The patience of this wise man was beyond imagination. Yi Zisu was a little agitated. Why, is a person's background that important? Kushawin smiled and looked at Yi Zisu lightly. He's more suited to people like you guys. Do not desire people from a level impossible for you to reach. Yan Xiaoshu really wanted to give this stinking old hag a hard beating. If it was anyone else, they would have burst out in anger already, but he had to bear with it. This was related to Wang Zheng's happiness. The reason why he and Yi Zisu did this secretly was that they hoped to sacrifice some benefits to get an opportunity. It was just that they would let down the Tita Star citizens. Prime Minister Kushawin, as soon as Yan Xiaoshu opened his mouth, Kushawin waved her hands impatiently, as though Yan Xiaoshu was rubbish. She did not even bother to look at him. Unimportant people do not need to talk. Don't you know any rules? Lin Weiyan was pale. She might have done something that she should never have done. The images swayed and a figure appeared. Wang Zheng had just finished his training and originally planned to do the Dodge trial, but he had unexpectedly received Lin Weiyan's Skylink, telling him to attend a secret meeting on Skylink which might bring some good news. Wang Zheng was very curious and thought that Aina was coming. He did not expect to see such a scene. Yi Zisu and Yan Xiaoshu were also shocked. They never dreamed that Wang Zheng would appear. 1. Rara Darai walked in delight to Wang Zheng's side and knelt beside him. Wang Zheng gently touched Rara Darai's head. This scene really gave a very big shock to Kushawin and Steve. Titans were basically Tita Star's gods and the primitive people's worship of their spiritual leader was blind. Wang Zheng looked at Kushawin lightly. Stinky old hag, you really think too highly of yourself. Listen clearly. Even if you kneel in front of me, I will not have anything to do with the Aslan royal family. Wang Zheng said firmly, and, next time when you talk about business, you should be honest. Don't do bad things in the dark and pretend to be good. Aslan is not that powerful, And Tita Star is not lacking in collaboration partners. Ever since her birth and after being Prime Minister for so many years, Kashawin had never been so insulted before. Her mind was in a whirl and her face was flushed. Her steadiness accumulated over the years nearly collapsed. Fine, fine, Governor Mu Sen, this is your negotiating attitude. She wanted to swear, but was suddenly a little lost for words. She wanted to use her status out of habit again to suppress people. Hee, Prime Minister Kashawin, actually I wanted to say it just now, but my human language is not very good. I don't know how to scold people. I have seen greed, but I have never seen someone as greedy and shameless as you. The Aslanians are nothing more than ordinary humans. Why and based on what, do you feel so good about yourself? Mu Sen was still smiling. However, the human language of this Tita wise man was quite good. Scolding people without using any dirty words. From the very beginning, Kashawin had put on a high and mighty demeanor, as if a meeting with her was such a great honor. Elder Mu Sen, Tita Star will be listed as an unwelcomed country in Aslan, Kashawin said angrily. Mu Sen waved his hands without a care. Thank you very much. Mr. Steve, you are expelled. After you go back, pack up your luggage. Tita Star does not welcome Aslanians. Also, regarding the distribution of the super-gravitational energy mines, we will reconsider it again. Kashawin was very angry. Finally, she waved her hands in anger and her image disappeared with a bang. Lin Weiyan's face was pale. She did not expect it to be like this. Mother mentioned that they had to collaborate with Tita Star. This project was very important for Aslan. She thought that this was a good opportunity, thought that this would be Wang Zheng's opportunity. I didn't expect it to be like this. Lin Weiyan was on the verge of tears. On the other hand, Wang Zheng's expression was calm. Weiyan, this will be the last time I will probably be able to talk to you. Thank you for everything, and help me say sorry to her. In the end, it was him who let go first. Life was unsatisfactory. No matter how you insult him or even threaten his life, he could bear with it, but some people, some things were untouchable. Yan Xiaoshu's face was also pale. Boss, actually. Yan Xiaoshu wanted to say that they were fine. The royal family was very temperamental. Bear with it and it would be over. He knew very clearly how difficult it was for the two to reach this step. Wang Zheng smiled. I can die but no one can insult my brothers. No one is qualified to. A person who had lost his dignity could no longer be called a person. Just this smile, even Rara Darai could see how sad but determined he was. Wang Zheng's image disappeared. Beautiful bubbles although are like the fireworks of a moment. All your promises although are too fragile. Love is like bubbles, if you can see through this, there is nothing to be sad about. No matter how beautiful the flower is, it will still wither after it blooms. No matter how bright the star is, it will still fall after it shines. Love is like bubbles, if you can see through this, there is nothing to be sad about. Why be sad? What is there to be sad about? Why be sad? All is bubbles, like fireworks of a moment. All your promises are all too fragile. Yet your silhouette, I did not see through, so I have been so sad. Those in love cherish each other, how to search again? Embracing loneliness, could it be not lonely? Love is like bubbles, blame me for not seeing through this, so I have been so sad. The bubbles under the rain will burst with one touch. The passionate heart of that time already sank long ago. Lin Weiyan was already crying uncontrollably. Yan Xiaoshu and Yi Zisu wanted to contact Wang Zheng, but no matter what they did, they were unable to do so. Wang Zheng was nowhere to be found. The two of them knew Wang Zheng too well, especially Yan Xiaoshu. In his bones, Wang Zheng was more stubborn than him. When he broke up with In Mei, he cried till he felt like dying. For a very long period of time, he lived as if he was not a human or ghost. Both of them were real brothers with their difficulties. He met the worst mother-in-law, and Wang Zheng met an even worse aunt. Looking at the worried Yi Zisu, Yan Xiaoshu shook his head. I think boss wants to be alone for a while. He will be fine. Zisu, you go back first. I will contact you if there's any news. Lin Weiyan did something bad out of goodwill. Maybe, this was not totally a bad thing. This was something that they had to face sooner or later. Yan Xiaoshu could tolerate In Mei's mother looking down on him, He had thick skin. He could bear with it and it would be over, but he could not tolerate how she insulted his father. There was no way for anyone to choose their own birth. He thanked his father for raising him. In Wang Zheng's life, there was no family. Yan Xiaoshu was Wang Zheng's family. As a person, if you did not even have this bottom line, what was the meaning of being alive? Wang Zheng understood this. It was fine if he did not see it, but when he saw it, it was necessary to make a decision. To Aina, he could only say sorry. World of Saints, inside the Dodge trial, those people in the trial hall had an impulse to go crazy, especially those with obsessive-compulsive disorder. A man with a black iron mask had been in the Dodge trial for an hour. Persisting for 10 minutes and not be hit by the pinball would be considered a pass. Lasting for half an hour would be completion. The name on the pillar had already changed to black charcoal, but he still had no intention to stop. One after another pinball blasted towards him, but each one seemed to pass by his body so closely. It was just by that one bit, but it was impossible to hit him. Wang Zheng's eyes were glued onto the continuous attacks that came towards him. They grazed past his body. This was a situation of the extreme. Only in this way could he stop the crazy thoughts in his brain. Taking things to the extreme. Hong long long, in that moment, countless light balls blasted towards Wang Zheng. Once hit by the light speedball, they would penetrate the body directly. This was the limit of this trial. In the past, it was the trial that would not go easy on the trial participants. God knows, now there would be one who did not want to go easy on the trial. Everyone's eyes widened. Tentacles was amongst the crowd and was already speechless. They have seen mad people, but never seen such madness. This was the final strike. It was absolutely impossible to dodge it based on a human's body and reaction time. Zung 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 zung. In a lighting pace, he faced the oncoming blockade design. Wang Zheng's body twisted like a snake. His steps were even more unpredictable, agile and quick. Zung. All the light balls missed. Wang Zheng stood there quietly. Everyone was stunned. Could this even be avoided? The extremity of limits, total limits. Tentacles could see clearly. There were more than a dozen light balls almost grazing past his face, but Black Bro seemed to want to take a clear look at the light ball. There was almost a pause every time, but the changes of his steps seemed to induce in his opponents an impulse to commit suicide, something completely unable to be fathomed. Hong. Light shot out from the trial field. The Dodge trial was broken by brutal force and became a regular training ground. The world of saints would automatically judge that when a trial did not have any test value, it would become a routine training. Wang Zheng spent more than an hour here and the trial field could no longer withstand the strain on the system. Wang Zheng was waiting for another round of fiercer attacks, but the trial was over. There was still a lot of emotions in his heart that could not be vented. Wang Zheng opened the option of the duel. The people in the trial field immediately became energized when they saw that this black iron masked madman wanted to fight. You must know that people who knew how to train would not necessarily know how to fight, and those who knew how to evade would not necessarily know how to attack. The disciple level had the largest number of people. Of course, there were not many people in the world of saints originally, especially when its mode of transmission was so limited. But such a magical world like this, after the initial slow period of launching, it spread quickly. The system of invitation cards had to be introduced to limit the number of entries of people to ensure that the resources were not abused. However, even like this, no one knew how big this world was. Wang Zheng's request for duels had been issued and immediately, he found his opponent. In the arena, Wang Zheng had more than 300 people watching. Obviously, more than 300 people had included black charcoal as their observation target. A monster with a height of about 2.3 meters stood in front of Wang Zheng. No, that was rude. Accurately speaking, he was an indigenous person from Ghana. Tentacles was speechless. In this world, aliens were extremely rare, unless they had human heritage. This Ghana citizen had obvious signs of mixed blood. Aliens had special physiques. They were generally incapable of learning human things, but once they could, they would probably be on the same level as geniuses. Ghana citizen Hawk Zuo, disciple level, advancing to acolyte level soon. He was doing his final combat training, while gaining a greater understanding of humans. However, it was strange that humans had created such powerful fighting styles, but they themselves were very vulnerable. This black iron masked man in front of him was actually using a middle-level 8-point blade technique. Hawk Zuo let out a roar that sounded like metal tearing, the floor cracked, and he instantly rushed towards Wang Zheng. Hong! A solid punch landed directly on Wang Zheng's face. Tentacles' mouth gaped so widely that his fist could fit in. Shit, why did he not evade? Hawk Zuo was stunned too. The power of his single punch was enough to kill a human in 1 second. Why? Wang Zheng moved his neck and gave his opponent a cold look. Hawk Zuo was angered. Huge rough fists that were like rocks punched towards Wang Zheng's head one after another. But Wang Zheng did not move at all. Everyone was shocked. Was this madness? Hawk Zuo felt that this small fry who he could shatter with a single punch was unexpectedly stubborn. His fists were already a little painful. Suddenly, a strong murderous aura rushed towards him. Hawk Zuo subconsciously retreated. This murderous look came from the eyes of this black iron masked man. Hawk Zuo was seriously angered. He pushed his blade technique to the extreme, with the violent power stimulating his body, making his burly huge body that was completely different from humans become even more ferocious. Obviously, this Ghana citizen had activated the wood element of the 5 attributes, based on a Ghana citizen's body, and an attribute activated. Tentacles was very anxious. What was happening? He was going to be killed by a punch. In the world of saints, aliens were rare, but you must be careful once you encountered aliens. Pung! The Ghana citizen Hawk Zuo's body was covered in a pale yellow power and he rushed towards Wang Zheng without any hesitation. Evade, evade! Tentacles was so anxious that he stomped his feet. Black Bro was the best at speed. If he wanted to use both speed and the advantage of his fighting techniques, how could he fight back just by pure power? What was happening? It was obvious that he was not in the proper mental state. Did he overtrain until he went mad? Hong! All the onlookers of the duel were almost suffocating. Hawk Zuo was shocked as he looked down. His chest was already pierced through. This can't. Pung! His body shattered into pieces and dissipated into space. Tentacles realized suddenly that he followed a very impressive person. This was the same as picking up an ATM card with no password and there was still 1 billion in it. Just as Tentacles was about to approach Wang Zheng to celebrate, Wang Zheng had already started the next duel. Everyone started discussing immediately. This person was simply looking to die. After participating in a trial, was it necessary to start a series of duels immediately? The world of saints placed great emphasis on spiritual power and consumed a lot of it too. This kind of continuous battle would cause problems. Tree appeared. Yet another trial was broken through. This was quite difficult. Did someone from the upper levels came down? Impossible. You could go to different levels to practice in the trials but you would not enjoy the effect of a breakthrough. Black Charcoal. This name was so familiar. He seemed to be that righteous one who helped him when he was beaten up. A dual opponent appeared instantly. Tentacles was on the verge of becoming mad. It was a crazy Ghana monster just now and now it was Wisp of Breeze. The reason why this name was familiar was because Wisp of Breeze had always been on top of him on the potential list. This was a girl, a very beautiful girl. She was rumored to be a royal from the Versailles Empire. She was very arrogant and also very talented. Wisp of Breeze also felt that this was unexpected. With one look, you could see from the aura that the opponent emitted was just a middle-level blade technique. How was she matched to fight with such a person? The battle began. Zung! Wisp of Breeze stared at her chest in shock. Pung! She shattered into pieces. Instant slaughter, cold-blooded like a blade. Everyone had chills down their spines. *T, must he be so fierce? How could he be so cruel towards a beauty? What was even more shocking was his speed. In any case, Wisp of Breeze was still a powerful player on the Disciple Level's potential list. In this area, she was very famous but she was actually killed in 1 second. When powerful players battled, there were no issues such as carelessness or negligence, so it means that Wisp of Breeze could not react at all against Black Charcoal's attack. Wang Zheng did not stop and continued his duels. Today he only wanted to kill to his heart's content. The opponent of the third duel, Absolute God King. This name sounded so arrogant. It was definitely overconfidence, but everyone quickly discovered that this person was from the acolyte level. He did not come to target Wang Zheng specifically, but he was here to target weaklings. Some people, after advancing to the acolyte level, realized that it was not so fun at the acolyte level, especially in duels. Very few people could remain calm after being defeated. Of course, at the beginning, they would be motivated to train and be ready to fight back. But training could not be fueled by an enthusiasm that only lasted 3 minutes. It was even more difficult to gain an understanding of the higher levels. The difficulty level was doubled because the acolyte level trained in the 16-point martial arts. While you might be an expert at 8-point blade technique, but 16 points was a totally different concept. Hence some people like to come to the disciple level to have fun. These type of duels would not be of any help to their battle records, and definitely no experience would be earned because to confirm one's understanding of fighting styles, one from a lower level should battle another from a higher level. Vice versa, there was only one result, enjoyment. Of course, this reason was quite sufficient for High. Absolute God King was like this. He himself was an Ability X user. When he was still at the disciple level, he was in the top 10 of the trial hall's potential list. Because of this, he was full of confidence. Together with his domineering name, he had the potential to be a saint. However, when he advanced to the acolyte level, his dreams were shattered. The acolyte level was filled with powerful players. His name also became a burden. After being badly defeated, he was teased too. But he found a way. People had to be flexible when they live, so usually he trained at the acolyte level. When he was in a bad mood, he would come to the disciple level to act all high and mighty. This trick really gave him a big sense of satisfaction. Looking the opponent who had a middle-level blade technique standing before his eyes, Absolute God King's eyes were full of pity. Kid, kneel down, kowtow one time and admit defeat. For one moment, it seemed like some bad memories all surfaced. The black iron mask seemed to be getting colder, zung. Wang Zheng's silhouette disappeared. Absolute God King's reaction was actually very quick, abnormally quick, zung. A sword was drawn out. You could own weapons only when you advanced to the acolyte level. But the weapons were usually kept away when they entered the disciple level to act high and mighty. Acting high and mighty still had its limits. However, this Absolute God King did not seem to care about this. This sword actually saved his life. He was so shocked that he broke out in cold sweat. This person's speed was so fast. Absolute God King's long sword suddenly burned with flames. This was his ability X, Fire of the 5 Elements. Fiery fields. Although the power was greatly reduced using the 8-point blade technique, but this kind of power was also not one that a low-level disciple could withstand. Zung. Unknowingly, the number of people watching the battle had increased by more than 1,000 people. This was rare at the disciple level. Unless there was some big shot coming down from the saint level, then would there be such a crowd? Meet the blade with bare hands, was there such a thing? Black charcoal held onto the opponent's flaming sword with one hand. You could hear the burning sound. The pain was definitely several times stronger than the actual flame in real life. The effects would definitely not be any poorer. But the eyes beneath the mask was still so cold and piercing. Let go, F King idiot. Let go. I'm going to kill you. Absolute God King was struggling with all his might to pull out his sword. His 8-point blade technique was pushed to the limits, but the flaming sword was as though it had grown roots and refused to budge. Pung! Wang Zheng's right hand suddenly moved. Absolute God King no longer had the sword in his hands. Instantly, the sword was slashed several times. Zung 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 zung. Chopped into 8 pieces, pung. He did not even have the chance to scream. Absolute God King shattered into pieces and dissipated. Time was not important anymore in this moment. One after another battle, unknowingly, Wang Zheng had already fought 35 duels. The number of people watching Black Charcoal's duel had already reached more than 10,000. No one could reach this number since that time with the appearance of the saint at the disciple level. The disciple level was the lowest level of the world of saints, but it was also the deepest level. The reason was because there was a mix of good and bad people. Their levels also fluctuated immensely. As only 8-point blade techniques could be used, There were infinite possibilities. Besides, the people from the acolyte level and saint level liked to come to the disciple level to act high and mighty, and have fun. This made the duels at the disciple level even less technical. If it was a person from the upper levels, the winning streak would not be recorded. He would probably just experience some thrill from it. If it was a person from the disciple level, even if he had great potential, there was still a limit to where he could reach. What he could experience and see was also limited, so the number of consecutive wins would be even more limited. Such consecutive 35 wins or even much higher was achieved by someone before. Everyone wanted to enter the acolyte level with the best results. It was rumored that the system would then judge them as higher ranking. Just that this kind of winning streak was definitely not battled at one go. And this black charcoal had been fighting consecutively for 35 duels already. I heard that he also broke through the dodge trial before the duels started. It took more than an hour. I saw it with my own eyes, it was too crazy, and he activated the saint trial at the disciple level. But he is too arrogant. I am afraid that the upper levels would retaliate. Who knows, but I like his character. I hate it when the people from the upper levels come down and act all high and mighty. Wang Zheng did not leave. He did not want to leave. This was not enough. He needed stronger and more powerful opponents who could go against his urge to fight. A forced battle. The people looking for trouble were at their doorsteps. The people from the Wind Group. He had watched for some time at a side. It was time to end this battle and at the same time let everyone know the consequences of offending the Wind Group. Ling Feng, one of the 8 officers of the Wind Group at the acolyte level, obviously after he had lost previously, and with the addition of Wang Zheng's triggering of a series of time, the Wind Group also started to put more focus on him. Black charcoal, join the Wind Group and our past grievances can be forgotten, Ling Feng said. There was a sense of appreciation for talents in his eyes. Wang Zheng laughed as he looked at this kind of condescending attitude due to seniority. It was a pity his expression could not be forced out of the black steel mask. Why would this world have so many proud people? You all, don't deserve it. Wang Zheng stretched out a finger and swayed it lightly. Don't talk about you guys, even if it was the saint, so what? Being low-key, being calm, was there any use? No use? There was absolutely no use. This was an edict from the heavens to the earth. Ling Feng was stunned. He did not get angry but instead laughed. Good, you are arrogant enough. It's a pity, I have seen too many people like you. Thinking that with just a bit of talent and you can be so proud. This bit of talent won't last. I am after all a person from the acolyte level, hence if you can block my 3 moves, you win. Everyone was discussing. This Wind Group still had a little bit of humanity. However, 3 moves were also not easy to block. This Ling Feng was a famous powerful player in the acolyte level and was a Manalasuo citizen. It was even rumored that he was in the military. Under his full power, 3 moves were no different from 30 moves. It was enough to win, but he was a smart person. From the surface, he gave off a very generous impression, and at the same time created the impression that the Wind Group was very righteous. Wang Zheng shook his head. Ling Feng laughed. Don't be shy, Ling Feng, do not like to bully people. You are wrong, I like to bully people like you. 1 move, if you can block my 1 move, you win. Wang Zheng was totally letting loose. Today he did not want to think of anything, did not want to care about anything. Other than being very true to his heart, he would tear off any fake masks. Anyone who bothered him, anyone who came looking for death, he would get rid of them. Everyone was shocked by this ambitious statement. Was he crazy? Even Tentacles thought that black charcoal was really crazy. 1 move to beat a powerful player from the acolyte level? Even if the opponent simply stood without moving, he might not even break through the defense. Also, the people from Wind Group were skilled in evasion. Why should he evade? Why would Ling Feng be afraid of him? The battle began. Wang Zheng strode towards Ling Feng. In that instant, Ling Feng changed his mind on his intention to prepare to attack. He withdrew from the step that he took. It was definitely not possible that this person was only at the disciple level. The black steel masked man in front of his eyes brought great pressure to him. His aura directly forced him into a corner. Every intention to move would be suppressed. How was this possible? 8 degrees blade technique, the base of all fighting styles. Ling Feng could use it very well. His ability X was activated to the maximum. He had the confidence to force his way out with his speed. In the disciple level, no one could block him. But why? The opponent moved closer step by step. Every step he took, the pressure increased by one level. If this continued. Clenching his jaws, a silent roar, Ling Feng turned into a streak of light and forced his way out in high speed. Peng Wangjung made a move. Those audiences surrounding them could use the insightful eye card. This was prepared specially to watch a high-level battle. One card was not very expensive. It was only 1 million, but it could only be used once. Finally, someone could not resist using the insightful eye. Once he used the insightful eye, no matter how fast the both sides were fighting, the details would be presented to the user. Ling Feng had the upper hand using the wind ability. He was faster than Black Charcoal. You had to admit that Black Charcoal's explosive strength was indeed fierce. He most probably had used the blade technique to the point of perfection. But mid-level was mid-level, there was a difference in the state as well. There was no way to win when met with Ling Feng, this kind of powerful player who had strong basic skills. The same prediction and positioning, the final landing position. Ling Feng was faster than Wang Zheng by one position and punched down viciously. This was equal to Wang Zheng knocking into Ling Feng's fist. The power of both sides would all fall on Wang Zheng. Tentacles felt the pain. He usually was very thrifty, but he also used the insightful eye. When he saw this scene, he lost all hope too. But Wang Zheng, who was supposed to knock into the fist, mysteriously stopped. This move was an old one. Ling Feng's punch missed. He could even see how cold the eyes under the black steel mask were. Hong. As they passed each other, his hands suddenly turned. Ling Feng's neck turned 360 degrees and he directly flew out. Peng. He turned into colorful broken pieces. Until the moment he failed, Ling Feng still did not understand how things turned out the way it did. Tree's expression was very weird as well. Void freezing. This is too interesting. The 8-point blade technique can be used to such a perfect stage. Wood of the 5 elements, wind attribute, while void freeze was not a fighting style of the highest level, but it was definitely not something a person from the disciple level could master. Even for the acolyte level, it would be difficult. Yet it seemed unlikely. The 8 degrees blade technique could not support such a move. He could only say that he had used some sort of technique to reach that same effect, and this technique he actually did not understand. The audiences surrounding them were stunned by this amazing move. A powerful player from the acolyte level, Ling Feng, a player that was worthy of the title of a powerful player, was actually killed in one move. The difficulty to instantly kill a wind attribute player was clearly one of the highest considering their speed and ability to dodge, but yet Ling Feng was instantly killed and his opponent totally saw through his moves. But to a certain killer god, this so-called famous powerful player Ling Feng was no more than a passerby and was treated no differently from the others. Immediately, he moved on to the next battle. Battles, non-stop battles, one after another, as though if their life did not end, the battles would never stop. Only in battles could Wang Zheng feel as though he existed. Lin Weiyan watched secretly. She did not dare to show herself. She wanted to make a last effort, but these non-stop battles, one after another, seemed to say something. No matter how many challenges this world had, he would not surrender. He had no limits to what he could handle, but there were some people, no matter who it was, they should never touch. Lin Weiyan had already given up. All along Wang Zheng and Aina were like her dream. It was just that now she had woken from her dream. Angela walked in from outside. Your Highness, everything is prepared. Princess Aina has already arrived. Mother had entrusted this job to her. It was a warning, which had also including her, because she had also been close with Wang Zheng, except how could she even speak of such a thing? The path to the meeting room was so near, but it was so torturing to Lin Weiyan. After reaching the meeting room, she realized that her mother was there too. Not only that, His Majesty was actually there too. This thing had become very serious. Lin Weiyan did not know how the situation would proceed. Her sister from the other end of the Skylink seemed so calm, like Wang Zheng. This calmness made her scared. She could come back already. Had everything come to an end? Proud destruction, ordinary hatred, remembering those who I loved. Let my memories be buried, let the cruel future be exiled beyond reality. And now forego the rules, indulge in love, let go of yourself, let the future be endless. I won't look back, I won't look back, I won't look back, and I won't look back. Switching off her skylink, Aina locked herself within the palace. This was her most beautiful first love. In front of the royal family, she did not want to cry. This would make her seem like a failure, like she made a mistake, like she was weak. Thank you, goodbye. This voice seemed to echo in the darkness. The disciple level was really shaken. News spread out in waves. What was this person, Black Charcoal, trying to do? Did he want to be an enemy of the world? But this did not stop the number of onlookers from increasing. Many were powerful players from the acolyte level. Perhaps some also desired such strength or such attitude, but no one would actually be able to reach this ambition. This was not realistic and would make one an easy target. Lear and Luo Fei had basically completed the acolyte level. They could level up to the saint level at any time. But before this, Lear wanted to make more complete preparations because once he reached the saint level, his plan would be fully launched. He not only wanted to become the saint, but more importantly he wanted to control the power contained in this world of saints. Not only the fighting styles. That was something everyone could get, but more important than the fighting styles were the people. This world was filled with powerful players. The most amazing part was no one knew who each other was. No one knew who was who, and in this, an opportunity existed. If he could grasp it, it would become a terrifying power. Lear had already formed a general outline of his plan in his head. This made him very excited. This world was as though custom made for him. No matter what the purpose of the Saint Church was, obviously, this world of saints had cleverly evaded the limitations of the current world, and could fulfill the road to kingship. Hence he had already begun to set in motion his plan, but in such a strength-centric world, he needed to do it from a top-down approach. Both their powers seemed a little too thin, but Lear was a person adept at making use of the situation, skimping resources from the left and right, using others' strength to defeat others, and eventually turning that strength into his own. Especially when he did not lack money. Boss, of the people we have managed to attract so far, there are already 15 who are more worth the attention. Do you want to investigate their background? Luo Fei said. Here, Luo Fei was less cowardly because he realized that he would not die anyway, so if he did not display his courage now, when would be a better time? Lear shook his head slightly. It's not time yet. For our first step, 5 is enough. Lear wanted to build his own invisible power in the world of saints. It was difficult to compete against another power even if he used all of the Kronos family's resources. However, if he wanted to use this few hundred years of accumulated power to control a few people, to Lear, this was still easy. The important part was his battle strategy had totally turned to this aspect. Outside, he had lost terribly in his clash against OMG at the moment. Yi Bingwen and the others had already rose, and especially for now when their current situation was going strong, the Kronos family also needed to avoid clashing with them for now. For the effort in this aspect, even if it was a black hole, the old Kronos also supported him completely. If he could not get the support of this power, even if Lear was a genius of geniuses, he could at best build a higher position in the solar system. And that was the highest he could reach. If he could get the approval from the Saint Church, or even control this power, it would just be the first step to ruling the solar system. Besides, ruling and controlling a certain right to speak were two completely different concepts. The Kronos family compared to this power was nothing, but such steadiness won a chance to gamble for great wins with little bets. If he succeeded, he would win the world, and if he failed, he would lose everything. But no matter whether it was the old Kronos or Lear, they obviously were crazy people that did not care for the consequences, as long as they felt that it was worth it. To Lear, what else was more worthwhile than this? Boss, there seemed to be a powerful player in the disciple level. This guy has already won consecutively 56 times and is still continuing. Oh right, he is that person who triggered the saint trial in the disciple level. Luo Fei said. He received first-hand information because Lear had reached an agreement with the Shadow Group, the biggest intelligence organization in the world of saints. Although he did not know specifically how much was spent, But this transaction definitely involved a huge amount that could cause Luo Fei to feel faint when he saw it. Actually, Luo Fei was a little confused. Life was so comfortable when they did not lack money. Why must he do so much of these things? If he was in charge, he would buy a plot of land and build a house. Then he would hire a few pretty maids. That would be so wonderful. Lear glanced at Luo Fei, dispelling Luo Fei's fantasies. Ahem, his name is Black Charcoal. He appeared only recently and is currently in the mid-level of the 8-point blade technique. In addition to today, he had already passed 2 disciple-level trials totally, definitely the only one. Oh, that's a little interesting. Let's go take a look. Lear was a little tempted too. This kind of talent was rare. Trials in the world of saints were famous for being tenacious. It was easy to pass but difficult to create a record. As for totally passing, it was not easy to say. Lear also took part in quite a lot of tests, except that he felt that to totally pass was very difficult. Who was this person? Wang Jung stood on the battleground. It was already the 59th battle. He had already broken the continuous win record on the disciple level. Once such an arrogant battle record appeared, it would definitely attract powerful players to challenge and suppress him. In the world of saints, unless you were the saint, or the head of some great powers, you had to hide your tail to survive. Especially for the newbies of the disciple level, you had to know how to stay low-key. This kind of unique personalities were really rare and it seemed like he did not care for anyone's face. Opponent, the last Lucifer, an officer of the Wind Group. It looked like the Wind Group was now against Wang Jung. All those who were watching could not wait for more chaos to happen. This last Lucifer was even more famous than the Mad Scamper. Although their positions were about the same, but position did not represent strength. This Lucifer seemed to have gotten the best fighting style of the wind element and had quite a unique understanding of wind. Even he was dispatched. This showed that the Wind Group was angered. Actually, if it was only a private challenge, the Wind Group would not react like this. It was too bad that Wang Jung's current continuous wins had already become a topic of discussion. The Wind Group had no doubt become the most important supporting role in this big show, and once the battles ended, it would quickly become a laughing stock. This was something the Acolyte-level Wind Group leaders were unable to tolerate. In the world of saints, the reputation of a group was very important. Once they lost it, everyone would look down on them, not to mention recruiting new members. The dispatching of Lucifer also meant that the Wind Group wanted to end this farce. The 60th battle, Black Charcoal against the last Lucifer. The only one and Mad Puppy entered as well. As to the number of people watching, Lear did not really care. He from a powerful family extremely disliked situations like this because just having a name had no value. He was here to take a look at this person. If he could use this person, he would be a good knife. But at the first glance of this person, Lear frowned. Luo Fei was still very sensitive to Lear's reaction. Boss, this guy's name is so lousy. But he is really courageous. This Lucifer I've investigated before, very strong, and already booked by the people on the saint level. Organizations on the saint level without any status were not organizations. The development on each level was all focused on developing key members. Once you become the target of development of a certain power, then information, capital aspects were no longer a problem. Even though Mad Scamper was also an officer, but he was not a target for development. You could only say that he had some ability to take care of the matters of the Acolyte level. On the other hand, Lucifer was different. The power behind his back would definitely bring him to enter the saint level. Even the fighting styles might have already been prepared. Lucifer looked at Wang Jung quietly. Actually, if it was my personal wishes, I would not be willing to fight against you under such circumstances. But the Wind Group's reputation has to be defended. Looking at this person wearing a black steel mask in front of him, Lucifer felt a tinge of pity. Talented people were usually very stubborn, but some were overly stubborn. To fight against the Wind Group was equal to killing his own road to leveling. You should not just look at how well he was doing in the disciple level. That was because big organizations like the Wind Group would not be wasting their strength on the disciple level. At most they would leave some observers to discover talented newbies. Once you reached the Acolyte level, you would understand how foolish it was to offend big organizations. Seeing how the other side did not respond, Lucifer smiled and instantly attacked. The same moment Lucifer smiled, Lear smiled too. There's really meetings everywhere in life. Wang Zheng, why'd I seem to bump into you everywhere I go? Within Lear's smile was a tinge of mixed emotions. His program was taken from the white-robed man. After he entered the world of saints, he also understood that there were many methods to obtain it. Except, where did Wang Zheng get his? Based on his situation, he just came back from an isolated backwards world and was not likely to have any contact. The mad puppy Luo Fei at his side was stunned. After all, he was too familiar with Wang Zheng. Even though a mask was worn, but this posture was too alike, except that he only connected the two after Lear had pointed it out. This, boss, how did he come here? From Luo Fei's view, while Wang Zheng was lucky enough to come back from Tita Star, but he was severely injured too. He was actually the proudest person in the Grand IG but was assigned to such a place. And they on the other hand left good records under the Federal Fleet. You could only admit that this world still belonged to the powerful. That's not important. Lear sighed. Lear was really quite conceited. Even in the past when Achilles was at his peak, he was also like this. Because their family's refining heaven arts was the type that could only be used well after a period of accumulation. Whoever stayed to the end would be the winner. Of course, this was until Wang Zheng's appearance. In fact, just looking at Wang Zheng's inhuman understanding of mecha, he possessed no weaknesses. But this world of saints was a world of fighting styles. It was a world that belonged to him. Only those who possess these ancient inheritances could exhibit their abilities in this world. It was too naive for Wang Zheng to want to achieve something here just based on his ability X and strong body, especially when he had offended so many people when he just began. How would he end this? From Lear's view, Wang Zheng's venting battles were childish and impulsive. Did he not understand the importance of this world? At this moment, on the battleground, Lucifer's first round of attacks all missed. When he received the order to stop Black Charcoal, he was still a little unwilling. Now that he had attacked, he realized that something was off. This person's absolute speed was not faster than him, but his control was not worse than him. If not, he would never be able to avoid his attack. Was this a provocation? Lucifer started to find this interesting. Sudden attacks and being fiercely fast were only the most basic characteristics of wind. Changing directions swiftly was the special trait of the wind. This was also his specialty. Lucifer attacked, and this time Wang Zheng did not evade. He was blasted out several meters by one punch. Lucifer did not hold back. He knew how many were watching him battle now. But this was not the way he became famous. At his level, there was no need for that. Moving again, the speed of his pace was obviously faster by a level, but it gave people a feeling of lightness and flight. As for Black Charcoal, he did not even attempt to evade. With his mastery of the advantages of the 8-point blade technique, Lucifer attacked Black Charcoal until he had no way of retaliating. Everyone sighed. Continuously, this was the 60th battle already. Even though there were many where the opponents were easily defeated, but as this progressed, physical and spiritual energy were used up bit by bit. What to be afraid of was the accumulation of fatigue. Once he met with powerful players such as Lucifer, he would be forced to the extreme instantly. Lucifer's lips curled into a smile. His opponent was totally suppressed by his steps, but his defense was still quite stubborn. Too bad he was at his end already. Hong! A savage punch struck out. Black Charcoal defended again, but this punch threw him out by 8 meters. Lucifer's suppression became stronger. Black Charcoal, you are really not bad. I'm making the decision to give you a chance. Join our wind group and I'll help to make sure your roads in the world of saints are smooth without obstructions. Lucifer said. To bully a newbie based on his acolyte level ability, there was no glory even if he won. Hence he wanted Black Charcoal to surrender willingly and join the wind group. This choice would be a win-win situation, gaining both fame and benefits. To survive in this world, you needed some smarts. Wang Zheng slowly stood up straight. The continuous 60 battles did considerably consume his strength and spiritual energy. The main point was that the 8-point blade technique could not keep up with this level of consumption, except. If you have no other moves, I'm going to end this, Wang Zheng said lightly. Wang Zheng adhered to his own rules on dealing with different people. Yes, he was building his own rules. Those worth learning from. For instance, this person in front of him, He would allow his opponent to show off a little. If his level was too lousy, or he was too annoying, he would kill him directly. Lucifer was stunned and could not hold back his laughter. Since you are so stubborn, I will not hold back. Zung. Lucifer's own understanding of the wind step. It was a little incomplete just relying on the 8-point blade technique's support, but was definitely unbeatable in the disciple level. His silhouette suddenly became erratic, sometimes fast sometimes slow, but yet appeared behind black charcoal in a blink of an eye. He slashed down with his palm. But at this moment, black charcoal moved forward a single step. The palm slash missed. Lucifer quickly followed by lashing out with a kick, but he missed by a bit again. This kick missed again. Lucifer's pace became faster. Step by step he forced closer to Wang Zheng, and from the start to the end, black charcoal did not turn back. The understanding of wind? Lucifer's situation could only be considered as having wind on the body, whereas Wang Zheng already understood the wind in his heart. In changing pace, yet filled with traces, it was no doubt that he was undefeatable to those opponents who relied on their sense of sight. But to Wang Zheng, Lucifer started to panic. It was hard for him to not be anxious. He kept attacking from the back, yet his opponent refused to turn back. And there were so many people watching. This was so embarrassing. Lucifer's attacks became fiercer and fiercer. He missed continuously. He could not take it. But Wang Zheng still maintained his simple changing pace, moving as his heart willed. Compared to the complicated moves of his opponent, his was very simple, yet every step was in the crucial position. This type of suppression made Lucifer depressed until he wanted to vomit blood. This meant that his opponent had already seen through his moves, but shit, he was not looking at all. Zung. Lucifer drew out his sword. Cold light with a hint of a whirlwind slashed towards Wang Zheng. Lucifer had already lost his mind. He only knew that if he did not kill this opponent, in a few minutes, he would be nailed to the column of shame. Wang Zheng sighed lightly in his heart. Why did all these opponents lose their coolness so easily? Lucifer slashed forth with all his strength. At this moment, black charcoal, who was originally in front, suddenly retreated and directly past Lucifer. The sword passed by his neck. This knock was not heavy, but it blocked the path of Lucifer's sword instantly. Wang Zheng's left hand had already grabbed the hand using the sword, and his shoulder exerted force at the same time. The long sword was released from the hand. Closely followed was Lucifer's body, which was flung up. Mid-air, Lucifer was also amazing, and he actually forcefully initiated his fighting style and kicked towards Wang Zheng. Hong! Wang Zheng, who had been slow, suddenly lashed out a kick like a cannon blast. Pung! Lucifer's body exploded, turning into broken pieces. The 60th battle, victory. Wang Zheng just stood there, but all the so-called powerful players who were watching were all quiet. Why? And it was so easy. The opponent was Lucifer. His wind step was even approved by the world of saints. It was his unique understanding. Why could he be killed with the opponent's back turned? This was already the 60th battle. Did he not know tiredness? Shit, boss, why must Wang Zheng be such a bug? He uses mecha well. How could he be so good at fighting too? Luo Fei was a little blur. When he entered the world of saints, he knew that the Chronos family had an innate advantage. In the solar system, only the Chronos family and the powers where Achilles was, as well as the Lai family, possessed fighting arts, and these were all inherited. At the moment, Lear was the first to enter, meaning that he occupied the first opportunities. Once he had the complete set of fighting arts, Lear would no longer be stoppable. Because at that point, he would possess the Ares art, one of the 3 most famous fighting arts known in the era of the gods. The most important thing was that Luo Fei really did not want to be enemies with Wang Zheng. Even though they were teammates, but after seeing Wang Zheng's performance in the aspect of mecha, this guy was as though he was born for mecha and had unparalleled dominance in that. But in the world of saints, it was another thing. Fighting arts and your resources determined everything. But from the looks of it now, Wang Zheng was equally scary here. Pung! Luo Fei's head was knocked fiercely. Luo Fei hugged his head, almost dying from the pain. Lear was mostly satisfied with this damn fatty, except when he was faced against Wang Zheng. He did not fear death but feared Wang Zheng. Ahem, boss, Wang Zheng is also nothing great. He can only survive well in the disciple level. Once he goes up, It is the world of the fighting arts. Ha ha, ha ha. Luo Fei laughed dryly. He felt that this was logical. Most people fitted this logic, but for Wang Zheng, it might not work. This guy, he already fought 60 battles. What was he trying to do? Lear snorted coldly. Well, it can be considered quite shocking for Wang Zheng, based on his quality, to use the blade technique to this extent. But Lear was still shocked in his heart. This must be stopped. But now he did not have to do anything. Wang Zheng seemed to have become famous with this battle. Most likely, he had offended many. A tree standing out from the forest would be destroyed by the wind. Lear said. He knew Wang Zheng very well. This guy most likely was triggered by something to have acted this way. But this helped save a lot of trouble for him. Until the last resort, at the moment he was really unwilling to go up against Wang Zheng directly. There was nothing worth being happy winning. The opponent was no more than a country bumpkin. If he lost, that would be a hard to recover miscalculation. What if he can't be destroyed? Luo Fei followed with a question without thinking. It was entirely on instinct. Pung. Mad Puppy hugged his head and squatted on the floor. The pain made him grit his teeth. He has to be destroyed.